Hey, welcome back to GBGuns. I'm back from a vacation, and of course, what does GBGuns do on vacation? Well, more shooting and outdoor stuff. These are two rifles that we took to Front Sight for a 2-day carbine course. I had been through before a couple times, and in addition to my 15 years in the Army, as well as Iraq and Afghanistan, I wanted a little more challenge, so I went with the AR-10 from Stag Arms for something a little bigger, beefier, and heavier. And Gretchen, who will soon be introduced on the channel, went with a custom build that we did for it with some various parts. Gretchen's experience was about 3 hours of trigger time total in her lifetime before taking this 2-day course, and I, of course, countless hours. I'm going to go over what gear we used and how it worked out coming up next on GBGuns. So to start off with a rifle you know, and a rifle that is available right over the counter, standard out of the box gun, the Stag 10S. You've seen my reviews on this. Excellent gun. Mr. Guns and Gear picked one up and liked it. The late Boy Scout picked one up and liked it. And I hadn't had any troubles with it whatsoever, so that's what I decided to take with me to Front Sight. Kept the VG6 brake on. Changed the charging handle just to one that's slightly extended, and I threw on the stock from Adaptive Tactical that you've seen me review in the past because it's really cushy and makes the AR-10 feel like an AR-15. Other than that, didn't change anything on the rifle itself. Had only one malfunction, and that was simply from the hammer pin walking loose. If you can see, you push it, and stuff like that is the kind of thing that doesn't happen until you're at a course. So I'm going to put some anti-walk pins in here and keep the gun exactly as it is. Ran great for me, was loads of fun, and between the Adaptive Tactical stock and the VG6 Gamma brake that comes on the gun, the only difference between this and an AR-15 was a little bit of extra noise. For optics, in a Warren X scale, had the Nikon Black Force 1000. It's just a 1:4. Now this course has you shooting from 7 to 200 yards, mostly standing, some kneeling or squatting, or prone if you want at 100 or 200 yards, but you're trying to be quick. So this 1:4 was a good way to keep it real. In fact, I didn't go past 2. I actually forgot to amplify more than that when we went out to 200 yards, and I was still banging steel, no problem, thanks to the awesome reticle that's in this. I don't do scope reviews, but there are some good ones on this out there, and if you just look for the Nikon Black Force 1000, you'll learn some more about it. So that was my rifle. When it came to gear, I only brought 3 types of magazines, figuring, I got time to reload. I'm pretty quick at popping them in there. Brought a Magpul 25 rounder or 20 rounder that I had thought had been reliable previously, and had a few failures with it. It wasn't the follower, wasn't binding up, but the mouth was flexing. So if I kept this loaded full for any length of time, the mouth would stretch out, and even after inserting into the magazine well, the bolt would come to pick up 1 round and 2 would pop out. So I ended up with double feeds and all kinds of mess, destroying expensive .308 ammo because the Magpul mag was spitting out 2 rounds at a time instead of 1. So that was a huge disappointment. On a chance, I grabbed some Pro mags, mostly because it's fun to have the concept of a 30-round AR-10 mag. They also had a 40-rounder. I only took the 30 with me because the 40-rounder is just absurd. It's just kind of a party thing. And you can see what happened here is the follower came loose because the spring jammed up. And there on the firing line, I popped these 2 buttons to strip the floor plate, which is really easy to do with the round in hand. So that was nice. It was easy to disassemble. Pulled it out, cleared everything out, put it back together, and it happened again. And this has been like this for over a week now. So that spring is bound. Kind of a disappointment. I knew it was a chance. ProMag doesn't always have the best record. However, I've dealt with their customer service in the past and they were always excellent. So I have good faith that ProMag is going to fix this. That knocked me down to one last magazine, and that was the C Products Steel 20 rounder. This thing fed perfectly every time, had no issues, inserted easily, dropped free, which is another thing that the Magpul sometimes was dragging on me. The ProMag definitely dragged. So this one got a lot of use, and even though it was ripped out and shoved in over and over and dropped on the ground, you can see that aside from some wear on the finish, the magazine is in perfect condition because it's steel. So that was the good mag. I'm probably going to be picking up some more of these. Spare ammo was kept in this pouch from Wilder Tactical. This is their universal setup. Adjustable tension at the bottom was really handy to loosen up or tighten up how bad you wanted to be able to rip that magazine out. If you're running around a lot, you're obviously going to want to tighten it. If you're doing mostly stationary and just pulling from it, you're going to want it to be loose. The only difference I found with this versus the pistol or AR-15 version is, for whatever reason, it's kind of a struggle to get the magazine in there. But the good news is there's never a race to get a magazine into a pouch. It's just getting it out. So that worked really well. For sling, had forgotten slings at home because that kind of thing happens, and so picked up one of these Magpul slings. This is a single point, dual point convertible. I ended up running it dual point. Gretchen ran it single point, and for the most part it worked pretty well. I did, however, notice, and of course any of these courses is going to be where you really test gear. 2 days in a course is like 2 years of average shooter use. But you notice the edges of the clasp here broke away or wore down. That's because although the centerpiece is steel, the rest is just hard plastic. So once again, a fail on Magpul's part. The cloth is good and thick. This webbing is good and strong for sure, but there's zero padding on it. So it did kind of get old after a while. The convertibility is something I'll demonstrate grabbing Gretchen's sling. So here's the sling as she ran it. As you can see, it's pretty easy to convert. Rather than clipping to the rear in front of the rifle or front and rear, you just slap this on that ring there, and now you've got yourself a single point. It didn't quite go short enough for her. She's a touch over 5 feet tall, and so to have a full-length rifle, it was kind of dragging at times. But you can see the Magpul obviously intended for people to buy this and use it single point only because there's no wear and tear on the clasp from her sling. However, my sling, they got a bit beat up. Now let's take a look at Gretchen's rifle. So Gretchen, not being a gun enthusiast yet and not having a lot of experience yet, just kind of jokingly says she likes red, and thought the Spikes Snowflake Lower was cute, so that's what we started with, and then used a variety of parts. Once again, went with that adaptive tactical shock absorbing buttstock. Probably not necessary on this, but it's ridiculous to see her shoot it. Even when she didn't have the greatest form, the rifle was hardly moving her because of 3 things that we had, well, really 4 things reducing recoil in this rifle, and we'll go through them one by one. So the Strike Industries extended castle nut and end plate system with a QD point is where she attached. That proved to be very convenient. We've got a red hollowed out pistol grip that she enjoyed. Of course, ambi safety, which it was interesting to see her as a new shooter learn, because what she often did was safe to fire with the thumb and then fire to safe with the trigger finger while she came off the rifle, which makes sense. This extended magazine release, unfortunately, if you're pushing on the end, is trying to bind the mag catch and doesn't always drop free. It drops just fine if you push directly over it as you would any other time. But so that was a point of frustration for her. We got this because of her smaller hands, thinking, oh, that makes it easy to reach, but it wasn't dropping free. In fact, this Spike's Lower, being nice and tight and well finished as it is, the best drop free we found, even after adjusting the catch a little bit, turned out to also be red, ironically. But this is also a C Products. This is their aluminum with the Teflon and anodizing, and it fed really easy for in and out every time. Of course, an anti-tilt follower. You can see where the finish wore off, and that's after I don't know how many dozens of reloads happened throughout that course and dropping it into gravel and things like that. So not too bad, but the magazine worked really well. It didn't have a single problem with it. She was also using one of these pouches from Wilder Tactical, and as you can see, it's a lot easier to feed mags into the 15 than it is the 10. Not sure why that is, but worked really well and made it really easy for her. Back onto the rifle. Another thing we used that I'm probably going to have to give a complete independent review on coming up is the buffer system from DPM Springs. So as you can see, that buffer is not your standard buffer. In fact, it's got 3 separate springs to it that are adjustable. You can choose what you want. So this buffer truly is decelerating and then accelerating the bolt. Decelerating back, accelerating forward, and has a rubber bumper on the end for when it finally makes a full stroke. And it made a surprising difference. This is a pretty cool thing to have. I remember SHOT Show 2016 when DPM Systems was showing off the potential of this, and then to finally have one in hand and use it and see it work, especially to aid a new shooter in a more comfortable shooting experience. The trigger is just a standard that's nickel boron coated. Had to do that because they won't allow you to have anything under, I think it's 4 pounds. Strike Industries lightweight titanium takedown pins, because of course they're red. So that's the lower. We get to the upper, and this build was totally for fun, by the way. Charging handle, which proved to be a bit small, but it was red. Also Strike Industries. The upper itself is from Bear Creek Arsenal, and I just kind of took a chance on it because it was affordable. It's a 223 Wild chambered stainless barrel, and it actually did really well. It proved to be impressively accurate, especially for the price. These are very affordable. I want to say it was under $250. Did, however, have an issue with the chamber being super tight. So as a result, the WMD red bolt that we had originally would get too tight to be able to rack the rifle easily. So we swapped in the new lightweight, of course also coated from Brownell's, and with it being lighter weight, it reduced that felt recoil even more. Didn't short stroke at all. That was a concern, was that maybe with that buffer and spring combo and this lighter weight that it was going to short stroke. Zero reliability issues, and this just wipes clean. This is a very high quality coating that's on here. Had no troubles whatsoever thanks to the Brownell's lightweight bolt carrier. And well, yeah, the carrier is lightweight, the bolt's the standard. Threw on a CAC Industries plastic dust cover simply because it's red. Another excuse to be red. She was running the same Nikon Black Force 1000, and then on the end we used from Rainier their brake and compensator combination. I went with this simply because it was stainless and matched, and hoping to help reduce some recoil. It's simply a 2-chamber brake. Did a pretty good job. You've got 4 ports on top for compensation and a little bit of linear comp action going on thanks to the holes in the front. So that rifle ran flawlessly once we had good mags in. The only wear and tear issues with just anodizing coming off, which of course it was going to do anyways. It's just, you know, when it's your rifle you take out on the weekend, say twice a month, you still don't see the amount of wear in a year probably that you see in going to the course, just a 2-day course. Course was fun, learned a lot. It was great for Gretchen. She had a good time and was banging steel at 200 yards, prone unsupported, using a 1-4 power, because they really teach you how to shoot. I enjoyed running the AR-10, making some big noise. Of course, I was doing it right-handed. If you don't know, I'm left-handed, so this was AR-10 non-dominant hand class for me, and still did pretty well thanks to that Stag 10S. If you have any questions about these builds or comments, please let us know in the comments below. It was a fun time, and I'm happy to encourage anyone to try out front sight or any of the stuff that we used either in her build or of course my Stag 10S. Thanks for watching.